I want to know your thoughts on this affirmative action and DEI situation that's going on. Trump is shaking up things and he's pissing off a lot of people. And you and I live in the DMV. So we already know that a lot of people who look like us actually work for the federal government, and they are negative. They're going to be impacted by this. So I would like to just ask Mika, do you have any thoughts on what, and not saying that you're the opposition, because I believe that you're a supporter of this and you're a supporter of Trump, you're conservative, all these things. But how do you feel the opposition will feel about this whole thing?
So I'm just getting, word on this. So this is what everybody's talking about Donald Trump and the federal workers.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Sounds fine to me. Like I'm so like, how you just have that, well, you're a man. As a woman, you have, you pick a man and you just have total faith in him. I have total faith in what Donald Trump is doing. The opposition, though, which we know, the Democrats and the liberals, they're not going to like it. They don't like anything that Donald Trump does, right? Because everything that Donald Trump does is opposition to what they actually believe. So, of course, they're not going to like it.
1000%. I got Sister Mika, Red Cup with Mika here with me. As you can see, she's Pop Culture Mika on, is this your ex? Or is that your...
Yes, I'm Pop Culture Mika on all platforms. I try to keep it the same.
Okay, on all platforms. All right, so I'm picking up what you're putting down 1000%. And I am in full support of Trump, actually. Yeah. But one thing I feel is necessary for us to do, for me to do on the LFR Family channel, is to let my supporters know who are, I don't know, y'all like 80% white folk that support my channel. And I'm very appreciative. And I have to point that out because a lot of my people don't like discussing race too much. I love discussing race. Why? Because I think if we duck and dodge it too much, it's going to end us up in another trick bag. So,
well, you know how I feel about it. Like I'm totally fine with discussing race because my family is mixed race, so I have no problem with discussing it because I grew up with it.
Have you ever benefited off of affirmative action that you know of?
Yeah. Well, I guess so because my grandmother is Native American, so I have benefited from being Native American. I've gone to school for free on a Native American scholarship.
So
or tribal scholarship.
So how do you feel if people were to watch this who are completely for affirmative action and they say you benefited off of it and now you're against it? Now you don't want us to be benefiting?
I mean, I don't know if it's, but I don't know if it's, I know it's a benefit, but I don't know if it actually fits like affirmative action, I guess. But anything that's I guess given can be. But the thing about it is I don't agree with just giving someone something off without merit.
Okay.
Right. So if you're unqualified, exactly. So if you're unqualified for something, or like if you're going to school and your grades don't meet the standards, then I don't think you should be able to get, the funding to go because you already don't meet the requirements. Now, I got funding because of being Native American, but I actually met the qualifications to go to the school.
I'm with you on that. A lot of people lose their scholarships by being able to get into the school because they meet the look. They're black. They're African American, so they meet that look. But then they lose their scholarship because they aren't qualified. They aren't able to keep their grades up or anything like that. I'm already upset. And I'm telling you why. And it's not because of this affirmative action or DEI thing. It was because my son's response to me when he asked me about it. But just to reply to what Mika was just now saying, if you get the opportunity because you're good enough to get it and you have all the qualifications to get it, then you should get those opportunities. Mm-hmm. But now that they're being taken away, well, you're not being put to the front of the line because you meet certain, you're not a woman, and you're not, because it started with women. It didn't start with black. It didn't start with race. It actually started with women because women wanted to join the workforce, and they were starting to make noise, and other people were being involved. I know a lot of y'all got something to say. Feel free. Correct me if you want to. I'm a novice in politics. I do not proclaim to be right about anything. Y'all know me, right? I'm a student. but I put God and family before anything. But not only that, I put my record before anything. That's what I put before anything. I am not college educated. I dropped out early. Y'all already know that. And that's because I wanted to make sure my wife stayed in school while I work to take care of my daughter that I put inside of her, regardless of where I'm from. I could not hold the hood to that. I couldn't hold my father that didn't raise me or my mother that didn't raise me to that. I couldn't do that. A lot of people like to. So they asked the federal government to lean a little bit more heavily on the whites and provide opportunities for the blacks. And I was for that 1,000% at first. But when I started pulling my weight, I'm like, man, if I can pull my weight, then these niggas need to pull their weight too. I know
They
that
definitely
means,
can, though.
huh?
They definitely can. If you look at it, everyone, when you look at the black community has a spending power, right? Of a country, like its own country. If you just look at, what would be the how much they spend. So if you took that and actually put it into the black community, meaning vocation schools, different businesses, right? Because if you look at like the Cuban community, because my dad is Cuban, they put all of their money back into their communities. If you look at the Puerto Rican community up in New York, the bodegas, things like that, like you can do that with the black community. The black community has more than enough money to have vocational schools, to have private schools, to have just a lot of things that they could have in the communities.
I want you
It's just not,
1,000%.
to me, it's not a priority.
It's not a party. We much rather spend when we make our money, we go outside of our communities and we spend it elsewhere. And
Yeah,
then
my aunt used to say the white man's ice is colder.
we have been teaching people how to grow online. It's been absolutely amazing. We have 3 people who have been able to reach monetization in less than 30 days. Growing YouTube channels, some from 0 people. We have one guy who had 2 subscribers before he started working with me. He started helping him. His views went up 4.8 million%. We're super excited. If anybody ever want to grow on YouTube, you reach out to me with the word coach. I'm sorry, what? The white man's ice is cold. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. So hold on. I'm glad you said that. Maybe hopefully I'm not taking this out of context. The white man's ice is colder. This is how I take that. Well, before I take it how I take it, how does she mean it? How does she mean it?
Meaning everyone in the black community thinks that the white man has better product, even though it's the
Everything.
same.
Yes,
So
everything.
I sell ice, the white man sells ice.
I got you.
Well, your ice is cold, but his is colder.
And that's
I'm
the
going
problem
there.
right there. So I had a conversation with you all a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling black people that I know probably don't watch the channel because my black audience is not that big. I do have some black audience. Don't get it twisted. I got a bunch of people that be repping inside of the chats. Shout out to you all. Y'all are absolutely amazing. But certain people see you repping on a separate side, repping conservative, and they think that you can't relate. And that's far from the truth. But here's our issue. It's not that we're not making money. I know a lot of rich black people. I know a lot of black people who are getting to the bag, but we don't put it back in our communities. And as a matter of fact, we'll much rather spend our money, like she just now said, on white clothing, white institutions. Yep. We want to be like the whites. We want to go to the white schools. And if we can't get in the white schools, government, y'all need to make sure that 20% of their applications are set aside for us so we can get into their schools. We want to work with them. We want to play with them. We want to eat with them. We want to party with them. We want to do everything. But we need for you all to create these rules so that we can move to the front of the line and be more like the whites. I don't want to be like the whites. I would much rather I'd much rather all of us try to be like what God created us to be. How about that? I'd much rather be every one of us were created with talents and gifts to create something to add to this world that God blessed us with so that we can all get along, move along, love each other and continue to create greatness. So as soon as we start to add that divide, and I know somebody said, if you don't want to talk about race, then why we always, I never said I don't see race. I never said I don't see color. I never said that. I love people for who they are. But I did hate white people at one point. I most certainly did.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's taught, but the good thing about being mixed race is I've gotten to see how people act in each group. And everybody, okay, is tribal. Everybody. Whether
Everybody's
it's
tribal.
whether it's white, whether it's Native American, whether it's all tribal, right? The difference is that different groups still buy and sell and support each other. Black communities have a hard time with doing that because if it's a locally owned, I mean, DC does a good job, right? Like I lived in DC my entire
DC
life.
culture is nice.
DC does a good job at supporting, black owned businesses,
Yeah,
all the way from what is that, Madness and
yeah.
Saviato,
Shooters.
all of
Yeah,
those. Yeah, right.
yeah,
But that is not the norm in this country.
yeah,
That's not the norm. So, they go and buy, all these other items of clothing to be accepted. But it's like
yeah.
by accepted by who? Because every white family member that I had could care less what people had on.
That's 1000% true. Like they can be. I know some people who are getting it, white people, and I never see them in Gucci. I never see them in Louis. But the black people, those of us who just now arrived,
I used to get teased in high school. Like the girls, not by the guys, but the girls used to, tease me because I never wore like all the name brand stuff. I was, I went to rave, stuff like that,
hold on, you
Hot
ain't have
Topic.
none of them? Like no no Dolce and Gabbana, no MCM.
No, I never wore that stuff until I became an adult.
Get out of here.
Yeah. My grandfather had 5 outfits. I lied to you not, 5.
5 outfits, and he was an engineer.
And he was rich.
And he had
Yeah,
money. Wow.
5 outfits.
So with that said, then let me ask this. With DEI and these programs being moved out the way, do you think we'll bounce back? Because a lot of people are about to lose some jobs. The same thing from him Trump pulling away us working from home. A lot of people are about because people are double dipping. They're working for one
Yeah.
job and they clock in and then they go and working for another joint and probably another joint and another joint. Not trying to snitch on
But
y'all.
that's because
I'm
they
just putting
don't
it.
but they don't put the like, if you're gonna do multiple jobs, you have to actually go ahead and make you a schedule, and that way you can get everything done. What's happening is they have these multiple jobs, that lacks, this lacks, that lacks, and then, they can see that you're not being productive. You're just skimming time. So now people feel like they have to micromanage people.
But they never fire them. And then the federal government is
Well, the
almost
federal government, right, because you can't.
yeah. So you're actually so you believe like look, a lot of y'all weren't doing your jobs any damn way. Arrivederci.
Yeah, and I'm fiscally conservative, so I don't like spending that much money on a lot of things, let alone government workers that don't want to do their jobs.
All right. What about the government workers that do their jobs and they got parents at home that they need to take care of? So working from home definitely benefits them, or they
Mhm.
got certain ailments, or they don't have a car, or
Well,
they
I
work too
think those
far.
federal workers will probably already, you know, um, express that to their bosses, right? Because my I had a I think my aunt's friend, she had a husband that was, having ailments, and it was fine for her. She worked for IRS,
So
and
they'll
she
be
was
all right.
doing, that home stuff before, had the Dell set up and everything, and she was doing that before the pandemic.
Okay.
So why, I think people are willing to make allowances for people. I think what Trump is trying to get rid of is people taking advantage, people abusing the
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. I agree. And there's a whole poop ton of people who are abusing the system, but it was the people at the top that was abusing it even more.